Hello, welcome to my garden here in Denmark. It's the 10th of November and this garden is located in a USDA Zone 7 equivalent here in Europe. And we've not had any real frost yet, which is unusual. Average first frost here is around the 6th of October, so over a month ago, but no real frost yet. We've had a little bit of frost in the grass, but nothing serious. And hence, Geranium Roseanne is still flowering. Geranium Roseanne, well, its downside is that it becomes rather large. I'd rather have it if it was just a little bit smaller, but still it is such a reliable flowerer. It has been flowering here since June. I think the only thing that it doesn't really like is if it becomes too dry for it. And especially newly established plants really hate the dry. But other than that, and this year has been so damp, so this has just been Roseanne year number 1, basically. But still flowering here in Denmark in November. Also flowering Rose Royal Dale. What a beautiful flower on that one here in November. That is impressive. As you can see though, the garden year is ending, slowly ending. And what a garden year it's been. I think it's been good for most of my plants. Most of the plants have grown more than usual. It's been a rather wet year here. I think November has been just a little bit more on the dry side. Rather damp, but not as wet as it usually is. But given all the wet, it's been a really good year for plants. It's been a good year for replanting and moving plants. And what I've done here is I put in a Magnolia Susan. I used to have a Hydrangea Pinaculata right here. I've moved that one and I put in Susan instead. And what I want is on this corner right here, that is a corner that leads into the garden, I wanted a bit more of a presence, and I think Magnolia Susan is going to give me that presence. It will become rather large, a lot larger than that Pina. And the Pinaculata I've moved, and I've transitioned that one to the new border that I'm building up. Also, just look at how green it is, given that it is November. That is quite astonishing. As you can also see right here, I've started taking apart a bit of my middle border. What I've been talking about all year is that I am going to re-establish the lawn here. Hasn't quite happened yet, but I am beginning to move plants out of it. I moved a few from the corner up there. I've moved an apple tree from the other corner. And I am starting to move out perennials. It has taken a lot longer than I expected, to be honest. A lot longer. And there's still a lot of work remaining because there are a lot of perennials in there. There are a lot of bulbs as well. And the bulbs, I think I'm gonna take out, well, as much as the weather will allow me the remainder of this year when it comes to perennials. I think I'll have to step quite cautiously in there though, because some perennials are beginning to go to ground. And in spring I'm gonna move out the bulbs, because then I can see them. That is going to take quite some time. I think I'm gonna enjoy having a lawn up here again though. Yeah, coming up on the pond area, or what I call a pond. It's just a rather small bowl of water, right? Just a small bowl of water, but the fun thing is it has quite an impact on the insect life here in the garden. What I need to do, and I think I need to do that within the coming days, is that these hostas that have collapsed into the water, I need to take those out, because I don't want a lot of nutrients in this water, and these hostas are going to rot in there, along with whatever foliage I can find from trees and so on. I'm gonna remove from the water. Also, what you can see here down there is my frog hotel. I have these 3 little cement houses for frogs and newts and so on, and yeah, wildlife basically. But in summer you can't see them due to the foliage, right? Also, talking of wildlife, you'll notice I have a pile of stones in there as well that you aren't able to see normally as well. It supports spiders and various insects. I should say here in Denmark we have no real poisonous spiders. Also, yeah, we have a poisonous snake, but nothing that will kill you unless you are allergic. So hence, I'm not nervous about establishing a pile of rocks here. It's not like it's gonna attract anything that is harmful to me. Also, I don't think I've ever seen a venomous snake here in this area. I don't believe there are present here. I think you need to go further to the west in Denmark to encounter them. Yeah, enough about the snakes and the wildlife. Let's look at this red dogwood. That is a nice plant. That is so nice looking. When you purchase these, take a lot of care, because they have the name of Cornus siberica alba, but the problem is that some of them are not as red as they should be, in my opinion. They vary a lot in how red they are. Get a really nice red one, and some of them will actually keep this red for quite a lot longer. Also, below it I actually have a very small house for what are they called, hedgehogs. I have 2 of these houses. One of them sits up here and another one sits elsewhere in the garden, just to support the wildlife in there as well. But yeah, that one is looking great. Also, yet another rose in flower. That is so impressive. I can't remember the name of this rose, but I am gonna put it in. It is unusual to have a rose that flowers so profusely here in November. Very unusual. You can always see an occasional flower late in the year on roses. And what a year it's been for roses, right? They've grown way too tall. And their stems have become a lot softer than they usually are due to all of that wet. And what I'm gonna do when this one stops flowering, or if they say that there's a heavy wind coming, is that I am gonna cut it down to about half of its size. And normally I first cut my roses in spring, but what I'm afraid of is if the wind catches it and really catches it in a storm, it will rocket from side to side, and what it will basically do is it's gonna damage the roots of it. So I am gonna cut them down depending on the weather forecast. I want to keep these flowers as long as I can. That's what I'm saying, without damaging the roses. Just look at that border like that, with some occasional flowers of roseanne. That is unusual for the year, but hey, I am gonna enjoy that while it lasts. That's just so great, right? Also, columnar hues. I have these columnar hues. I was a bit on the cheap side when I purchased them, but they are beginning to become quite a lot larger than they originally were. I think I am gonna limit their size to just above my head. Just above my head is the ultimate size that I want these to have, and I'm gonna simply cut them back to that. Also, I did trim them in a little bit. They tend to be a little bit wider, and they were established as an afterthought in this garden, and hence, as you can see, I don't have a lot of evergreens. I have these columnar hues, but other than that I don't have a lot of evergreens, and that was a bit of a mistake on my part. And hence I went for these columnar hues because they have a very small footprint. So I didn't have to move a lot of plants to establish columnar hues. You'll notice there's one sitting in there in the background as well, right? There's one there. And they are throughout my borders basically. But they were put in rather late, and hence columnar hues, small footprint, didn't have to move a lot of perennials to get them in. And I was cheap, so they haven't had a lot of a presence up until now. I think this is one of the first years where you really get to see them, because now they are above the perennials basically. Also a plant that is on the edge of where it will grow. Fuchsia. This is a garden fuchsia, winter hardy here. Its main problem in winter, I believe, is the wet. I'm on clay. Some parts of the garden more heavy than others. Depends a little bit on the garden. Even though it's such a small garden, the levels of clay here vary quite a lot. Up here, it's more clay than it is down there. And that is, this is a rather new house, and when they establish these houses, they basically make them flat as a pancake. The soil level here would probably have been going down over there. So there they filled in some ground, some soil, right? And hence the soil is better where they filled in extra. Up here, where they sort of evened it out, they dug off some of the soil, and hence it's more clay up here, right? So it depends a lot, and I've actually been digging out solid clumps of clay from up here, just to ensure that things would actually grow. Also, a thing that I do is I raise my beds a little bit. I establish these by digging out, scraping off the grass. You don't have to dig a lot down to remove grass, just a little bit, just like 3 or 4 centimeters. If you get the very base of the grass, it won't regrow. But I did that here, scraped that off, and then I put in some soil to bring the borders up a little bit. But this plant fuchsia here, still, even though the border itself is raised a little bit, I still had the issues that they died on me. This is fuchsia number 5 basically, right? And what I got, I'm a little bit lucky because my mother propagates these. And what she does is she simply makes wood cuttings, right? You take something like this off, and then you put it in soil, and quite often it will take and shoot roots and grow. That's how I got this plant. So got it from my mom. I actually got quite a few more plants, and they all died on me. And I believe the issue, the error was on my part, because when I dug them in, I dug a hole for them in the clay, and then I filled that with some gravel and some loose soil, just to make sure that it would be nice and dry, right? But the problem, of course, is what am I actually doing? I'm digging like effectively a small pond, right? Filling in some stones, and what will happen in winter when we get a lot of rain? The rain will not sink into the hard soil. It will travel along the surface instead on this clay. And where will it go? It will go into my loose pond situation that I dug into the ground, right? What I did with this one, though, is that I raised the soil level instead. Notice there's actually some stones in there. What it does is they hold back just a little bit of extra soil, and I raised it up instead. And this is the sole survivor. Well, not enough to sort of make a theory about how to do it, but I think that was a lot better than digging a hole here in the clay. Oh, I think I got a battery warning from my phone. That's not good. Let's see how long it keeps going, right? Again, Dogwood Siberica. Again, a really nice red one. They will vary a lot in quality, get a really good one. Just notice the amount of red stems on that one. Even some of the old stems still are red in color. You renew these. You every now and then you take out a stem. And the new stems will be more red than the old ones. Oh, I did get a little bit nervous about that battery warning, but let's see how it goes. This is still running. What I'll do when frost arrives is I'll put in some aquarium heaters in there, controlled by thermostat, so that I don't waste a lot of money heating it, just keeping it above frost temperature, right? You can also drain them. Just remember that if they dry out completely, they won't be watertight anymore. They need at least some moisture levels to remain tight, these wooden barrels. I find it easier to just drop some aquarium heaters in there. Also, I put a couple of twigs and so on in there, so that birds can get at the water in winter, when all other sources freeze up, right? Also in here, I re-established a presence of Japanese anemones. I am a little bit afraid that they'll spread like crazy, but I did try other plants in here, and that is a failure. So I'm gonna try these Japanese anemones. These are Chaubert or Honorine Chaubert, I believe. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'll put in the title for them. Just be aware that they are sometimes they can spread like crazy via root rhizomes, and sometimes they don't. Also in my elder, if you can see it from out here, I have a caprifolia in there that is semi-evergreen. It will keep its foliage for most of winter, depending a lot on the temperature. It has lost its scent though. It's not scented anymore, and that is a downside. Definite downside. The middle part of the border that I'm gonna keep down here on the other side of the apple tree and that hue, looking rather good for November still. Plant that has lost all of its foliage though is this witch hazel. This is Arnold's Promise. And just look at all of these buds, all of these small, very small flower buds that you can see here. They're gonna open up probably in February, and this plant will become a really nice yellow flowering plant in February here in Denmark, when everything is gray and brown. It will look like a real stunner when it flowers. Also a single flower on, what's it called? Lady of Charlotte, my rose in here. Such a great rose. Also, I am gonna cut that down, and I think there's so few flowers left on that one, I should probably not postpone that. I'll cut it down to avoid the windrock. Yeah, in here you can see I've taken out a plant there as well. It just flopped too much, and I need the extra space since I'm moving so many of my other perennials. And again, a very small house for hedgehogs in there. Don't know how well you can see it in the video, but just a very small house established for hedgehogs in there. I like to do something for the wildlife here. Coming up on the project, the grass path here will move along here. I will make it a little bit wider. It used to be over there. Will move it, am moving it, working on it. You can see right here, I took out a patch of my toad lilies. Toad lilies right here. Some of them still remain though. Moved them over here. What I did, cut them down quite a lot to about a third of their size to avoid the windrock. They will reshoot next year. This is such a damp year, they're gonna do fine. Also a hue, just to keep up the theme of having these hues with very small intervals here in the garden. A butterfly bush here as well. Not invasive here where I live. Nice. The hydrangea sits over there. The hydrangea that we were talking about will become larger than this. Also done this year, I had my blueberry patch right here, and I think it would have worked fine back when I wanted to make a kitchen garden in there. But now where it's becoming ornamentals, it would be a shame to not be able to see the ornamentals up here from the house due to a blueberry patch right here. Because these are American blueberries, they will become rather tall. Hence, I moved the blueberries. Blueberries need acidic soil. I'm on clay. I had special soil in there. I moved all of the soil along with them. Such a lot of work. Also in here, you will see I covered my path in here with this plastic. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this plastic, by the way, but it's what I had in the shed. Moved my blueberries in here. Such nice autumn colors on blueberries. Just look at them changing color. And the funny thing is, these are various species of blueberries. The berries don't taste the same on every of these blueberries. Some of them are very sweet, some of them are not so sweet, and also some of them keep their green color for longer than others. Some of these have almost lost all of their leaves, turned to red almost a month ago. Almost lost all leaves. This one, sort of, probably just because it's a little bit of another species, has a different mix of genes and still green. Still, it is a blueberry though, right? That's not what I mean. Just look at that red. Now that is looking good. Moved all of the soil along with them. Now that was a lot of work. But I didn't have to get a lot of new soil. My soil is not acidic here, so I have to have soil brought in, or have to bring in soil. Also, why don't I like this plastic? What is it that I don't like of it? First of all, it's plastic. That's one of the things. Also, it has some good qualities and some rather bad ones. Let's see how long our battery lasts, right? The not so good qualities of this is that it will shred. Will bring out these rather annoying threads. These will generally spread across the garden if you don't take care. You can fold it though, so that the parts of it that will shred gets gone, right? I think what I'll do is I'm gonna keep this for a couple of years, and then in a couple of years I'm gonna have my remove plastics from the garden phase. Because this sort of plastic I also have on my... There's a path running along the hedge that you can't see normally. There's some grass turf on it right now because I'm moving the grass path, right? But normally there's no grass on this one. Quite often I cover this by with bark and so on. I have that up there, it's covered with bark, so there you can't see the plastic. Doesn't change the fact that there is plastic there though. And what is making me nervous is this shredding of it, and how will it actually break down? Not on the short run, but on the long run. But as the short run is right now and the long run is not right now, I'm gonna postpone that. Why am I putting it on? I'm putting it on because due to being these weaved threads, it will allow water to pass through it. That is a good quality. It will also suppress weeds because the sun doesn't get at the weeds, hence they can't grow. Hence, it's a lot of less work to cover your path in something. I think I'm better off covering it with... You can actually get some sort of... what would you call that in English? Not a fleece, but a sort of almost like a piece of cloth that you can spread out instead. I think they are made out of wool or something like that. That will last a couple of years, and you'll put bark on top of it. And the bark will also break down. But the bark you can shovel into your borders in winter, right? So I think I'm gonna, at some point in time, transition towards something that will break down naturally instead of this plastic. But right now I had the plastic, and it will save me a lot of time in weeding, and at some point in time I'll have this rather big process of taking out all of this plastic again and just getting rid of it. But right now, where I am sort of in a bit of an experimental phase, will this path remain here? How will the blueberries grow? Will it work out? And so on. Plastic is just so easy to work with, right? I don't have to move a lot of bark away again. I can sort of easy mark out where I want my border limits to be, right? I want a big path around the blueberry border. I probably want to continue the path through right here and link it up with the extended grass border that hopefully you can see it in there. It will be, the grass path in there will of course become a little bit wider, right? And hence I will make a path through here. And what does this mesh consist of that we're looking on right now? Well, the path will continue into it. There are a couple of toad lilies in there. Those I'll move, like the toad lilies a lot. I'll move this geranium roseanne as well. I will move this hydrangea pinaculata. There's a very well hidden pina in there. And some plants I will remove instead. For example, these. These have spread by seed, and they're not very good in my very fertile soil on this side of the house. Quite a lot of them I already moved to the meadow on the other side of the house, and there they aren't flopping. Why? Because the soil is not as fertile on the other side of the house. It consists mainly of sand and very poor clay soil, so a mix of sand and clay. On this side of the house, however, they grow so tall that they flop. So, and these are seedlings, so I will take those out. And I think if I go through this and take all of the seedlings out, and also there are some red valerians in there, you can't really see them. Also, they have gotten in there by seed, and it has been looking really, really well though. Another battery warning. Let's see how it goes, right? But I think if I take out all of these seedlings and so on, I'll see what I have left over. And some of it will go into this border, depending on what it is. And some of it will be moved to the other side of the path, right here. Also, what's sprouted in there is mainly red valerians and a couple of other plants that will spread by seed. And I didn't weed those because I'm thinking the red valerians, well, I can't move very well established plants of red valerian. If you've ever done so, you'll notice that a red valerian, if you dig it up, it will immediately drop all of its soil off of the roots. But small red valerian plants that have established themselves via new seeds can be moved. So I am gonna put them over there, at least some of them. And some of them will remain over here, but I need to raise the soil level just a little bit. We'll move some of the soil from that other border. It's hard to see in videos, but the soil level is actually quite low in this bed. And the same goes over here. The soil level is actually quite low here. You'll notice I am raising it. When I'm putting in these plants, I'm actually raising the soil level. So that water will drain off of the border. And also so that the soil becomes a little bit better than it naturally is here. So, yeah. Anyhow, that's it. Over and out here from the garden in Denmark, at least here in autumn. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.